Well, good morning, West Coasters, and good afternoon, East Coasters. I hope you're having a great day. It's hump day, and we're back a little later than usual today. I've had an interesting week, which I'll tell you about here in just a moment. But we're here live today talking about movement. That's moving with your feet when you are giving a presentation or a speech. We're concluding our series on delivery skills. And we're going to talk about that here in a few moments, but specifically what we'll cover today are the three mistakes that presenters make when it comes to using their feet when they're up on their feet in front of an audience. So how to use your feet, how to use it strategically and not just mindless wandering. So we'll get to that in a moment. The last month has been pretty exciting. Lots of things going on. As you know, I've made the official transition from the corporate world to having my own business. Welcome each week to my home office. You notice, maybe other hand, I got some new artwork and a new shelf. It's kind of hard to do this. This is background or backwards. But yeah, it's been an adjustment working in an office to now being at home. Those of you who work in an office will totally understand. But I find myself absent-mindedly in the pantry at all hours of the day, and it's a problem. So I'm working through that, but most excitedly, I had a really incredible opportunity this last weekend to meet a dear friend and mentor in California. Yeah, she's an incredible speaker, and I'm really excited to share with you guys here soon about a project that we're collaborating on. But so my whole business is around presentation and communication skills and helping you develop the confidence and the skills to deliver your message and engage your audience with purpose and conviction to drive them into action. It's really nice to listen to a person speak who's nice to listen to, but if it doesn't actually do something for your audience, it's not very effective. So that's me. I like to help you become more effective with communicating with your audience. But I've spent the last 10 years presenting in front of groups, perfecting my style and learning the different recipes that go into a more effective delivery. And to be honest with you, I haven't had a lot of opportunities over the last 5 years to have people coach me. And circling back, this last weekend, my dear friend and mentor, we spent 2 full days of her coaching me on my delivery skills and how I structure stories and how I create more impactful presentations. And I'm going to laugh because all of the things that I talk to my students about and all of the nerves that my students have and the awkwardness that happens when you're practicing in front of someone, all of that hit me this weekend, and it made me laugh a little because it was nice to be back in the shoes of the learner on this particular topic. And it was a great reminder of a couple things. One, I love learning, and I really enjoy putting myself in the pressure cooker to learn new things and start growing. I don't enjoy being really uncomfortable and feeling like I'm failing. That's not good, but I like what happens on the other side of that. So it was a great reminder for me to really dive into a topic I'm obviously passionate about, but to use it in a format where I was learning. So that was really incredible. And then the second piece was, it was really amazing to compare notes, if you will, around the methodologies that I put in place and the structure that I use to teach people to be more effective in their delivery, mapping that over how she engages her audiences. And I was really thrilled to see there were a lot of similarities, and there were a few things I was able to teach her, and there was a lot of things that she was able to teach me. She's been at this much longer than I have. So that's what I was up to in California this last weekend. It was pretty incredible, and as I said, I'm really looking forward to sharing with you more about that here soon, but I'm not quite ready yet. But let's dive into the topic for today. It's all about movement. So as you remember, we kicked off the month of March with the concept around delivery skills. So it's one thing to build an incredible PowerPoint deck or to create your script and have content that you want to deliver. That's great. You can spend your day writing all that content out, but we all know that if you can't deliver that content in a captivating and compelling way to make it easy for your audience to stay engaged and follow along, what's the point? Somebody could just read a blog post. So the delivery skills are the cornerstones to effective presentations, and that's what we've spent the entire month of March focused on. So if this is your first episode that you're joining in, hi, welcome. I want you to go back and either watch some of the Facebook Lives from earlier this month, or if you pop on over to my website at heathersager.com, you'll see quite a few different blog posts on this topic. You can see the entire series and gain more insight into how to be more effective with your tone. We talked about the 5 P's of delivery. That was pace and pitch and pause and power and passion. We talked about how you can use your voice more as an instrument. And then we talked about hand gestures and how to be a lot more intentional with setting your body up to use your hands more successfully in a conversation or during a presentation. And we talked about a few do's and don'ts for that. So that was last week. And then this week's all about how we move our feet. So let's dive into the 3 mistakes that presenters make when it comes to movement during their presentation, specifically with their feet. So number 1, absent-mindedly wandering around. Now, you can probably picture this. You know, you've seen presenters before who just walk as they're speaking. So they walk back and forth, sometimes forward and back. But they seem to be mindlessly wandering around the stage as they're speaking. And some presenters, this becomes very distracting. Some presenters, it's just subtle. But if you pay attention and notice, there's no rhyme or reason around how they're moving. So this is a big mistake. And if you're trying to think whether or not you do this, just pay attention the next time you get in front of a group and you'll pick up on it pretty quickly. But this absent-minded wandering, it becomes a big distraction. So just how I mentioned in the vocal delivery series, where we talked about the importance of getting your speed down and inserting strategic pauses, I want you to think about intentional pauses on stage. Not only are they important with your voice to give your learner the chance to catch up, they're really important for you to physically stop on stage and let your message sink in. So instead of mindlessly wandering around, I want you to plan some intentional pauses where you actually just stand and deliver your content. And you deliver and deliver, you talk to your audience, you deliver your message. And then when you're ready to make your next point, then start moving to your next place. So it shouldn't be this rehearsed or choreographed sequence where you plan, hey, when I say this word, I'm going to move. You look like a robot. You don't want to do that. But what you do want to do is become more intentional about moving to one side of the room, pausing, speaking for a few moments, and then maybe take off and move again. So mistake number 1, don't absent-mindedly wander. Pick a place, stand there for a moment, deliver your message, and then move. Mistake number 2 that presenters make, it's called the shifty feet. Note I said shifty, not the other word that you might have just heard. Don't get awkward with your feet. What do I mean by shifty feet? This could be a couple things. A lot of times when people stand in one spot, they do similar fidgeting that they do with their hands, but because it's not their hands, they don't necessarily notice. So this could look like something of shifting on your hips. We all do it. You pop out one hip and then you pop the other one out, and maybe you sway back and forth. If you're a parent, you have the mom or dad sway down pretty well. We all have done it for so many years with our littles that it becomes ingrained in us. We don't want to do that. If we're going to stand in place, we need to make sure that we anchor our feet in and stand. So if you find yourself challenged by this idea of standing in place, and you notice that maybe, let's say these are my feet, you notice that maybe you roll one of your ankles. If you're thinking, oh, there's no way I do this, pay attention. You might be shocked to find out that you do. I see some presenters put their toe out and they do something like this for a moment. There's this fidgetiness that happens with your feet that's completely out of your mind. You have no idea that you're doing it. So pay attention. But if you find yourself doing the fidgeting, here's what you can do as a trick. I taught this in last month when I was talking about managing your nerves, and that's take your feet, ground them. You want to equally distribute your body weight across both feet. And then I want you to take your toes and just dig into the ground. And what you'll notice is any nerves or fidgetiness that you have, it will shoot out through your toes and instantly calm yourself from the neck down. And you'll have this sense of peace in your body language. You'll have this sense of confidence that comes across not only in your body language, but it'll actually come out in your voice and in your delivery. So when you find yourself fidgeting, whether it's with your hands, since we've talked about before, or through your feet, you need to anchor yourself, dig your toes in so that you push your feet all the way into the ground, and then it'll allow you to stay calm and deliver that message. And then going back to tip number 1, then you can move to your next spot on your stage or in front of the room, wherever you happen to be. Okay, mistake number 3. Favoring one side of the audience. Now, we can't pick favorites when it comes to presenting in front of a group, and we typically don't. A lot of times when we're presenting, we don't even know the audience, or if we do, we tend to pick a side to stand on. At my old work, we had a big training room, and the training room was set up where the projector was installed up in the ceiling, and obviously the projection screen was behind you, but there was a table set up on, let's say, stage left, and that's where the computer was. And then there was nothing over to the right. And what we saw in every training or large meeting is the presenters in the front of the room would always stand to this side of the room. And they would freeze. They would lock themselves up in this like 3 by 3 foot diameter, and they wouldn't move from there. And if they did, they might rock back and forth with a few steps, but there was really no rhyme or reason, but they tended to stay on that side. And if they had maybe read a blog post or heard somewhere that, oh, we should not favor one side, we should pick 2 sides, they would awkwardly go, oh, I realized I'm staying on one side, and fumble for a moment in their speech, and then move to the right side and then keep going. And then it was awkward, and they would maybe stay there for 30 seconds, but they would find themselves back on their little home plate. I'm laughing because many of my former coworkers might be watching this, and you're going to know exactly what I'm talking about with that specific room. But even if you were never in that room I described, I bet you can identify with this because either you've done it or you've noticed presenters do it too. We tend to get uncomfortable when we get in front of an audience, whether we like to admit it or not, but we carve out this little safe space. I call it our home base, where we feel safe and warm and secure. And if we stay within that space, everything will be okay. And it might work a bit. And you can definitely get by good delivery skills with your vocal mechanics and your body language and really good content. But you can be so much more impactful if you learn to use your space. So here's how you overcome that mistake. First, you have to be aware whether or not you do it. So if you don't know if you do it or not, you, again, write that down. You need to pay attention the next time you're presenting. And by the way, on all of these mistakes I'm talking about, if you don't have the ability to do double duty, that means give your presentation and have the awareness for how your body is moving during your presentation, get a buddy, ask them to observe you and give you some feedback. Have them watch this video and say, hey, I want to find out how I can be more impactful and intentional with my movement so I can keep my audience engaged. Can you give me some feedback on these 3 tips? It's super easy to do. A lot of people feel very excited to give feedback. So I give you that tip. But here's how you address that mistake. I want you to think about the place that you're presenting as a rectangle. See, most people think about their presentation area as either a circle, as I mentioned, or a line where they move side to side. And this is a big mistake because you actually have a rectangle. Not only is there a side to side, you have one group of people over here, some in the middle, and then another group of people over here that you want to address. But you also have to remember there's depth of field. There's a closeness to your audience, and then there's further back. And the proximity in which you stand from the front row creates either intimidation or intimacy or distance. And distance can be good, especially if you're on a very heated and passionate topic where maybe you're getting louder and really animated and you're pushing someone's thinking. You probably don't want to get up in their face. So this is a big mistake that people make, is not using the full rectangle in there as their zone for walking when they present. So you want to keep in mind all of the areas that you have in front of you, Those who just popped in, hi Alicia, hi Jen, thanks for jumping on. We're talking about how you more intentionally use your feet as you're speaking during your presentation. And I mean by moving around in your audience. So we've covered the 3 big mistakes that people make when it comes to moving around in front of a group. Let's recap those real quick and then I'll tie up the bow on the 3rd one. So mistake number 1 was absent-mindedly moving around. That means just walking and talking without any rhyme or reason. How we fix that mistake is make sure that you find moments during your presentation to stop and stand still and just deliver your content. That leads us to mistake number 2, which is the shifty feet. Again, shifty feet. And that's the fidgeting that happens, again, absent-mindedly while we're presenting and maybe our nerves are high. When we find ourselves anchored in one spot, this is where we might rock back and forth or do the weird hip hop and have one foot moving around absent-mindedly. You'll notice that lack of awareness happens when we're doing things. We're not aware that we're actually moving our body in the way that we think we are. So the fix to that shifty feet or that fidgeting with our lower body is to make sure that you plant your feet and evenly distribute your weight through your hips all the way down through your heels. Ladies, if you're wearing high heels, you'll know that'll be a little different. So you'll be putting your weight into the balls of your feet, a little bit on your heels. But the trick here is wear closed-toed shoes and curl those toes into the ground. And again, you'll find that immediate release of energy and it'll free up the rest of your body to be a lot more intentional with your hand gestures, and you'll exude confidence in your delivery because you'll be anchored into the ground. And mistake number 3, that was favoring one side. So most of us find our comfort area when we're in front of an audience and we find our little 3x3 circle and we stay there in our movements. And while it can work successfully, again, if you have great content, you have great vocal mechanics, and you have great hand gestures, you're really robbing the rest of your audience the ability to become more engaged with you. When you make eye contact with people, when you are in closer proximity of them, it forces them to pay a little bit more attention. You'll notice when you move closer to someone in your audience, they will actually sit up a lot straighter. They might lean in a little bit. Or if you're intimidated, they might lean back a little bit if you're too close. But that proximity is important. So the fix on this one is to consider the space that you're presenting as a rectangle. Remember, it's not a line. There's not a left side and a right side. You have to think about there is those two sides, but also there's a nearness and a farness from your group. And you can use that to emphasize the emotion that you're going off of with your audience. So really consider the depth of the space that you have when you're presenting in front of your group. Okay, we're nearing about that 20-minute mark. If you are on and you have any questions, don't hesitate to put those below. If you're catching the replay and you're liking this information, there's more where this came from. So just a reminder, I'm here live almost every Wednesday at 10 o'clock, just like today, we're a little bit hour late. Next week, I have an incredible speaking opportunity in Chicago. So I'll be adjusting this time a little bit, and I might actually hop on a little later because of my flight, but I'll keep you posted. But as always, if you want more information on how you can be more intentional and therefore more effective in your communication skills and your overall presentation delivery, hop on over to heathersager.com, and there's a wealth of articles, including the 10 tips to manage your nerves. There's also quite a few other things there for you. And I just want to say thanks to a bunch of you. That was weird. Thanks so much for those who joined live today. I hope you have an incredible week, and I can't wait to share the exciting news of the things that are coming down the pike at my new business. So I'll keep you tuned in. As always, have a great day, guys. Bye.